Hi, I'm Naomi Butler with the Naomi Butler Show, and today is the video about my healing journey with cancer, and we're talking about whether you might need a port, a PICC line, or an IV for chemo. And what happened was, going through what I've gone through, I now know more information than I did about 2.5 years ago about all of this. And it's asking yourself, do you have a choice of a PICC line or a port or an IV for your chemo infusions? And it all really depends on the type of chemo that you're having, and also the amount of time, length of time it takes, meaning weeks, months, or even longer for you to get your chemo. There's so many factors that go into it, and I do not know everything about it, but I unfortunately have learned a lot in the last 2.5 years and just want to share some of that information with you. So hope this is helpful for you. 2.5 years ago, I had surgery, radiation, and chemo, and they told me to do a PICC line. I had to go to the hospital, and it was right before chemo started. It was not under sedation at all, just a numbing shot in the upper arm where they had to do it. And when I was there, I want to share this with you. Sorry, I'm dealing with vertigo still and throat issues. While I was there, I made sure that everybody involved in that process was in my insurance network with the insurance I had at that time. You want to do that no matter what's going on. Just a little word of advice, because I did my due diligence, and because of that, when I got an out-of-network bill, I got them to waive it, because I had all my notes, people I talked to, the days and times I talked to them. And so make sure everybody's involved, everybody that is involved is in your insurance network. And even when you have insurance, you have deductibles, you have maximum out of pocket, so there's still a lot of money that you're out. So you want to try to save everywhere you can and not have those out-of-network cost bills. And even if you've done your due diligence, I think you can get them to waive it, like I did too. The guy putting the PICC line in at the hospital wore a lot of gear, kind of like a hazmat suit. And he had all of this stuff that he laid out that was sterile. It was amazing, the process. I was very amazed at the process that he went through. But it was put in my upper arm, the right arm here, halfway between my elbow and my shoulder. And it was a very involved process where the PICC line that he had to put in, y'all, it was over 1 foot long, and it went all the way through and right near my heart is what he said. So it also had what they call tails or lumens. When he got through, it's like 3 things that the medical staff can use to do everything they need to do, whether it's draw blood or flush or put the chemo or antibiotics or whatever they're putting into you. So I was there about 2 to 3 hours, and that was the first week before they started chemo, November of 2018. And that line that I saw that was going in me, it was so long. I was just, wow, that's crazy. And I think it goes into the large vein that meets the heart. I'm not sure if it goes right into the heart a little bit, but anyway, it was long. I'm so sorry. Apparently, it's easier for the medical staff to put the chemo infusions in you if you have a PICC line or a port, something that is a central line into the veins where it needs to go. That way they can use it to do all those things easier without having to find a vein elsewhere every time with an IV. I apologize. Today's a tough day with the throat. In technical terms, a PICC line means peripherally inserted central line catheter. And so you've got central line catheters, and a port is also another one of those. And there's even another one that I don't even know anything about called, I think, CBC. But the PICC line that I had was a pain to sleep with and to shower because you had to be careful it was dry. I had to use these plastic things that they gathered on both ends so that everything stayed dry. But you get used to it. And no baths, no strenuous activity. I also had a reaction to the tape because they had to change the dressing. For the 8 weeks that I had, they had to change the dressing every week, even if it was a week that chemo was halted because my white blood or red blood cells were low. That did happen. But anyway, it had to be kept dry. So you just had to be careful with that. And the tape that they used around it, I had a reaction to, and so they kept trying to use different tapes so that I had less reaction. But it still itched, and even itched weeks after they took it out, maybe months. It was crazy. I've not had a port. That's another central line. Like I said, it's easier to place and remove than a PICC line, and it can stay in for longer periods of time. It's usually put in under sedation in a hospital, implanted surgically under the skin on the chest somewhere. A port makes it easier to do things because you don't have to change the dressing every week, but I think you do have to flush it often. November of 2020, when I was going to be starting chemo again because the parotid gland cancer that I'd had here actually moved and spread to my left lung. So I was supposed to get a port put in. And after checking it out, I was told it was going to be about $1,700 plus to put it in, and also about that same amount to take it out. And they wanted their money up front. They were not going to let you pay it out. So keep in mind, during that time, we were all dealing with a pandemic, and my business, just like many, many others, had a rough time. So money was an issue with everything. And so I asked about doing an IV. I'd never thought about it, it just never came to my mind as an option, not knowing it was ever an option. And so I asked about it, and they checked on it, and they said, with this type of cancer and your situation, yes, we can do an IV. And I knew they would have to try to find a vein every time, but I have good IV, or good veins, excuse me, so I figured it would probably be okay and work just fine. Not everybody has that option. And so when they started the chemo infusions with doing an IV, I would just have some soreness in the area where they had to put the IV in. I did have a bruise. I don't know if you can see it. This was just this last time, chemo number 5. I had a bruise here where they tried that one. It didn't work. And then they tried my hand. These are the only times I really had bruises. And this one is kind of right here because I think they put the main vein, main IV in here, and maybe something else here that they had to open. I'm not sure. But this area here was the only area that I had a bruise. And it's really not bad. It's not as green as it was. So everything worked out good. I did learn that if they had put it in the bend of your elbow, that you would not have been able to bend your arm. The arm would have to stay straight. So the other option was above the wrist somewhere on the hand, and I could bend my arm, get my water, do whatever I need to do. So that worked out great. And because mine is every 3 weeks for chemo, we switch sides, and so it's not bad because after 6 weeks I'm using this side, or sorry, every 3 weeks I'm using the other side. So I'm back to this one 6 weeks after I did it, so that still works. It's It's weird because if I'd known it was an option the first time, I might have done this. I might not have had it as an option. It could have been that because my chemo was once a week at that time, because I was having radiation every day, it might have been that it was not an option. So um, if it's just, you just don't know. I mean, you go through this stuff and you learn as you go, but I don't think it probably would have been because they were doing chemo once a week. So who knows? If somebody does not have good veins, this is probably not an option for them anyway. It's just, it depends on the chemo that you're getting and all those other factors. There are risks with everything. With the Picc line in the port, you have a risk of infections and other things. With the IV in the vein, you have risk of damage to smaller veins. So everything has a risk. But the main reason I'm doing this video is to let you know you may have options, you may not. But if you do and money's an issue, then if all these other factors fall in place, just ask and find out what your options are. When we're dealing with cancer, we don't know all of the questions to ask, even though we may have hundreds of questions as we go along. And at different stages, we have other questions, but we just have to be our own advocate and ask everything to find out as much as we can. My doctor, I think, is probably tired of me asking questions, but I don't care. That's just the way it is. So I hope this was helpful. Sorry about my throat. I am dealing with some dizziness, so my eyes are kind of doing weird. But you know what? We keep going. Each of us deal with different cancers and different situations, and I just want to help with any information that I can share with you that can help and give hope and encouraging words to help us get through every day. My prayers are with every cancer warrior. Stay positive no matter how much pain or fatigue or dizziness or nausea or whatever else that you're dealing with. Staying positive really helps in many ways. Speak positive words, not fearful words. And if my videos help, please subscribe. That way you'll get notified of new videos that I publish. And you'll see one of my art videos that I did yesterday that was posted before this one. And I was dealing with vertigo, so I was kind of a dizzy artist there. But art's my therapy, and we just have to push through what we're dealing with and just have fun anyway. Mine are real. You can tell I'm having issues with vertigo, with my throat. I apologize for all of that, but this is real. This is the effects of radiation that I had years ago. Anyway, I hope this helps, and just want to keep encouraging you to take care of yourself and to be strong no matter what you're going through. Thank you so much.